All right, the reunion we've all been waiting for. This is Gigi with the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills reunion. Let's talk about it. All right, let's start. So it starts off with a bang. There were no crumbs left untouched, y'all. They did the damn thing. So Erika and Rena meet. They're discussing, this is the day of the reunion. They're discussing what's going to happen. Erika is like, there'll be losers and winners, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, girl, you're part of the losing team, but okay. Then Rena admits to telling Erika that the girls have flipped on her, which we kind of knew, but I'm wondering why Erika did not give them as much venom when she told her. I want to know what the timeline is of when Rena revealed to her that Dorit and Kyle specifically have flipped on her, because those were her, Fantastic Four, whatever they call themselves. So Andy visits with the ladies. Kyle confirms Erika is not speaking to her after watching the episodes. Then Garcelle says, I'm sitting on ready for Dorit and Rena, which she should be. Then the set is Kathy's backyard, which I don't know why, because you're just a friend of the show, but hey, I guess Kathy is legendary. So he starts asking ladies how they are. He gets Erika. Erika is like, I slept very well, still very unapologetic. And I'm like, sis, this is why they're coming for you. If you boo-hooed by now, I'm sure like the lawyers would have left you alone. Maybe not, but the venom you'll be receiving publicly and privately would be less. But this your whole I don't really care attitude, it's not working for you. Then she says she's empathetic for the victims, which she never expressed, not once. Even as she's saying she's empathetic for the victims, she kind of mirrors in on herself. I'm like, I don't think you feel anything for the victims. I think you're worried about the millions that they're coming for. That's what you're feeling like tearful and, fearful for. So she said she understands how people think she doesn't care. She claims things have been hard. She says she's disappointed and sad, and the girls basically turning on her, i.e. Dorit and Cal. So apparently a whole bunch of ladies sought lawyers, including Crystal. And Crystal's like, well, this is my first time on reality TV, so all that. I'm like, it is okay for y'all to seek lawyers' advice, because this is something you've never dealt with. Plus, you're public figures, so there is a whole bunch of ramifications on legal issues. So it is smart to seek legal advice, but they are so scared of being honest in front of Erika that you have to give an excuse of why you sought legal advice. I sought legal advice because I don't want no one coming for me. Full stop, end of story, because your shit looks a lot. That's why I sought legal advice, but I digress. So Erika is like, her lawyers advised her to quit, but she refused because, she's Erika the queen. She's not a quitter. And I think she needed the coins, which Andy points out. He's like, well, I guess now that Girardi's money is not behind you, is that part of why you stayed on the show? And she's like, well, when I was shooting, that wasn't it. But now it is, because this is her only income. She's going to get a raise, though, because, this whole season was basically the Erika show. So let's see. He starts out the gate with Erika, like asking her question after question, which she answers to my surprise. And she's like, I don't think I should be fired. Let me defend myself. Let the public watch me win, and things like that. I was like, you've been defending yourself in the wrong way. But anyway, we move on to Sutton's segment, which is hilarious. Sutton is crying in multiple scenes. Her roller is sitting already, because she says, in case this reunion is stressful, I have my roller cooling and ready to go. And I totally missed during the season that Sutton's mom was a psychiatrist or some sort of therapist. And Sutton admits that, yes, her mom does give her a whole bunch of advice, whether it's psychotherapy or whatever. But she said, according to her mom with Crystal, her mom just says, let it go. Like, Crystal is who she is, which sounded like some Southern shade. But it is what it is. Then they ask about why she said she doesn't want her kids hanging out with Rena's kids, because Rena's kids are clout chasers. That's why. But she gives, well, my kids are not used to growing up with Hollywood parents, so it will be just, they're from different worlds. Yes. They're basically, what do they call those people? Crap. I'm blanking. Anyway, they're basically elite, and Rena's kids are like gutter, is what she wanted to say. But she couldn't say it because the internet will cancel her. So they ask her about her house. She's finally moved in. I wasn't impressed. I don't know why. The cabinets were like short, like old school cabinets. They weren't the long, beautiful 42-inch cabinets. The hardware, the kitchen didn't even have any hardware according to the video they showed us on the cabinets, which I'm like, ugh. Then the whole backsplash or tiling they used in the kitchen, it just wasn't it. The floors were still the old school parquet 70s floors. I thought she would have upgraded the hardwood. I thought because it took almost a year for this rehab. And I'm like, how bad was the house prior? Because when they showed the house before, it looked the same to me. Basically, she just furnished it, is what it looks like. The bathroom looks refreshed, but it wasn't, it looked like a regular $400,000 house in Houston, Texas. So I'm like, I don't get it, but hopefully next season they will go like room for room, before, after, so that we can see the difference, because I didn't see it. Not to say the house is millions of dollars, which I cannot afford, but I wasn't impressed with the rehab that they did. Then Kyle talks about Sutton almost burned down her house. Excuse me, Kyle, if you are the owner of the house, it is your responsibility to get your chimney cleaned out so the house doesn't burn when someone uses a fireplace. Like, to say that on national TV, then Sutton is feeling guilty, like, I'll pay for anything I break. I'm like, Sutton, you didn't break shit. This is so manipulative. And Andy's like, so are you going to rent the house again? She's like, well, we have to do some repairs. I'm like, you're doing some repairs because you guys neglected to take care of your own house. Because you have to clean chimneys out so that the thing doesn't like get combustible when you try to use it. That's part of regular care. Like, this has nothing to do with Sutton. If I was Sutton, I would sue you for emotional distress, because if your house is catching on fire with me inside it because you neglected to clean your chimney out, then that's on you. Kyle is so toxic. I cannot. She is toxicity personified. Like, I cannot do it with her. Then Erika tells us she's trying to date. She wants a big sausage. She doesn't reference her husband's sausage, but I reckon it hasn't worked in 10 to 15 years, but that's besides the point. Then Sutton reveals that her boyfriend randomly broke up with her on Valentine's Day and just said, Sutton, I'm out. I can't do it. I'm like, what the hell did Sutton do to this Negro? Like, oh my God, this is crazy. Then we do Garcelle's segment. I hated watching it over, even though I saw it during the season, with her crying and saying she didn't feel like she belonged. Of course she doesn't belong, because these people are not used to black people. And she's probably the, not as financially strong as all of them. And she's not stealing or borrowing like some of them. She's living her real authentic life. There's nothing wrong with her living within her means, because I feel like, i.e. Dorit, may be living above her means, because every time you look, they're in a chapter 11 or there's something, someone is suing them. So I think that's why they probably look down on her, like, you don't have as much money, you're a black woman, we don't understand the black experience, which, to each their own. I don't think they're racist for that. I just think it's just, we're from different worlds, and that's it. But I hated that she cried. She says her sons are okay with her dating. Then we start with Dorit and her little boohoo. She goes on how she appreciates Garcelle opening up, but then she says Garcelle takes jabs at her, and Garcelle is like, okay, first you said I don't talk enough, and now I'm talking too much, or I'm taking jabs at you. Then she's kind of like saying how Garcelle is two-faced, but Andy points out, like, you're saying she's not saying it in front of your face, but then she says it in front of your face and you take it as jab. So pick one. And Garcelle's like, I cannot win with this woman. Then Garcelle demands an apology because she called Garcelle a bully, which is code word for angry black woman. Because they point out Erika has basically been the nastiest human being on this show to every other housewife. And then Garcelle defending herself, she's a bully. Garcelle saying you talk too much, which everybody else says you talk too much, is a bully. So it's code word for angry black woman, but she can't say angry black woman, so she has to call her a bully because that's more acceptable. She apologizes with the butt, which, she's not really apologetic. She's just pissed that the whole world came for her jugular. Like, these women are just fake. I cannot. And Dorit, and it's so confused, but Dorit and Garcelle were actually getting along. And I think Garcelle's jabs were very surface. Very, very surface. So it's just like weird. I'm like, anyway. So her and Rena tried to gang up on Garcelle, talking about Garcelle's shades during the confessionals. And everybody's like, well, we all do it. Every housewife does it on every freaking franchise. That's what you guys are supposed to do. You're supposed to shade each other in the confessionals, or else confessionals would be boring. Then Dorit brings up the whole dinner, or Crystal chimes in. Crystal tries to get her 2 cents in, talking about, well, you took a jab at me because in the confessional you were like, I didn't know who Crystal Minkoff is or whatever. And I'm like, how is that a jab at you? That is reality. Nobody knew who you were. till you came on the show. The same way you said you didn't know who Sutton was. Like, I cannot with these women that have no self-reflection. Who are these people? Like, does reality show make you like this, or are you like this naturally? Anyways, then at this point, they're like, what did they even say? Sorry. So yeah, Dory chimes in talking about, yes, and at that dinner, if you had such a problem, why didn't you say anything? And Garcelle is trying to respond like, girl, you weren't even at the dinner. Why are you coming for me, sis? And she's like, let me finish. I was like, girl, if you don't reduce the volume of your voice before Instagram, YouTube, Twitter comes for your neck, you're still recovering because you called her a bully and now you're raising your voice. And you guys saw Adrian Bylon already lost her mind because when she saw the sneak peek, like, who is this girl yelling at? Like, have some respect when you come to Garcelle Bouvet, okay? Anyway, let's see. And Rena's Karen definitely came out because her venom for Garcelle during this whole scene, talking about, I'm gonna talk when I want to talk, blah blah blah. And Garcelle was just like, wait for your turn, I'll get to you. I'm here, we're here all day. I'm sitting already, sis. Okay? Anyways, then so they talk to Garcelle. Rena's segment finally comes, and they talk to Garcelle about what does she think about Rena's gestures of throwing her birthday party, bringing her the sauce and everything. And she's like, well, she doesn't believe it, as she shouldn't, because Rena she seems very inauthentic, even when she tries to be authentic. Like, it comes out as fake, superficial, surface. Then let's see. Then Crystal chimes in once again, which I'm like, Crystal, shut up. Like, she's like, she really meant it. She really meant it. I'm like, you just met these people. Like, who are you to even say what Lisa Rinna meant or not? Like, shut up. Shut up, Crystal. Anyway, so Garcelle says she's done trying to mend Rinna and Denise's relationship. And I noticed at this point, Lisa's lips is like she got more injections because the bottom part is like, you know, that inflatable thing going on. I was like, girl, be careful before your lips necrose, but that's another story. So Garcelle says she expected Rinna to step up during her makeup lunch party. And Rinna is like, well, I agreed with Dorit, so I wasn't going to step up for you. I don't even know why Garcelle expects anything. Garcelle is kind of annoying me with the expectations because I'm like, you guys, according to Rinna, we're surface friends. Rinna is a publicity WHORE, which she has said multiple times. So why do you have expectations? Like, to me, it's very, very, very unrealistic. Like, she's already giving you what she can give you. Accept it, move on. Then Garcelle says she heard that they were upset. Well, Rinna specifically was upset about the race talk, that this is not that kind of show. Garcelle does not reveal her sources, which I think is a low blow, and it was definitely trying to instigate things. And Rinna, like, loses it at this point, saying she didn't say it, denies it profusely, thinks Garcelle is lying about it. But Garcelle, they go back and forth, which was kind of boring. But Rinna at this point is like, I'm gonna lose because Black Twitter is on Garcelle's side. I better make this right. So she goes over to the chair, does this whole dramatic thing, shows off what she's wearing, her cat suit or whatever. And I'm just like, this chick is so fake. And at this point, Garcelle is like, what am I going to say? I'm not going to accept your apology. I accept your apology. Let it go. And Rinna is like, I love her. Even Kyle was like, girl, stop. Stop pushing it. So at this point, I don't know if anybody caught it. Erika tells Dory to shut up. And I missed why that happened. I'm going to have to rewatch it because I'm like, what was the conversation? But anyways, Kathy comes in. She recognizes her backyard. I didn't think she would because to me, she's like a stoner or something. She says Kyle pushed her to do the show. And we talk about the Halloween movie because Kyle is in it. I'm not a Kyle fan, but I am going to watch it because I do love horror movies. And this one is like, you know, it's a classic. Then we go back to Erika and how her husband was not supportive towards the end, like not reading her book, not coming for her show on Broadway. And she reveals that, oh, she found out later on he was in DC. What do you mean you found? Don't you guys talk every day? That he was in DC and he didn't show up. And then she talks about him cheating and her giving him an ultimatum. Divorce me if you want to be with somebody else. Then the episode goes off when Andy asks her, well, did you cheat? So we'll find out next week. This was a juicy, juicy reunion. I ate it all. I left no crumbs. Like, this was good, y'all. Tell me what y'all think. All right. Like, subscribe. We're growing. Bye.